Honestly, I did not realize I was still in a valley. But then I decided that I was just going to fully immerse myself into work, be able to focus on something that I felt like was positive and just keep my train moving. I didn't want to sit in that discomfort, but I am glad that I sat in that discomfort because if you do not deal, you cannot heal. And crew, our new seasons, your new season, it deserves the healing version of you. But now, what is processing? It's a journey worth traveling, your space for raw conversations and soulful insights around life's journey. Let's explore. Welcome back to the podcast, A Journey Worth Traveling. My name is Catherine, storytelling and taking on these trips. It is absolutely a love of mine. J Crew, thank you for coming back and rocking with me for another episode. And I hope this week has just been a fantastic one for you. And now I hope that you are ready to have a little bit of tea time with your girl. So with this being the third episode, I was doing a little bit of reflecting. And, you know, in the first episode, I spilt a lot of my personal tea. And then in the second episode, we immersed you into the LCA. You got a chance to experience all the buffoonery of Bangkok, the beauty of Koh Samui. I mean, like, we really just hit the ground running. And so in that, I realized, you know, I really haven't had an opportunity yet to just sit back and kick it with the crew. And so that's what I wanted to do in this episode. I wanted to have a moment to reflect and explore, go over some of those trip highlights, but specifically the ones that I feel like are relatable to your journey. And now I know we're doing something a bit different. Like, we're not officially taking a trip, but I'm really excited about this episode because this is actually the first one that I'm recording since we launched this podcast. So now in getting some feedback, I'm looking forward to taking this opportunity to just provide some additional context to my experiences and expound upon some of those lessons that I learned. So I hope that you are here for it, and I hope that you are ready to do it over a bit of tea. Or you know what? Like, whatever is going to enhance this experience for you, ask yourself, like, is that going to be tea? Is that going to be water, coffee, wine? Whatever it looks like, go grab that, come back, and let's jump into it. Okay, Olaf, that's our editor. Run the first clip. Okay, Kat. So what did your valley look like? Okay. I'm going to take us back to 2020, where it all began. All these things have been taken from me. My grandmother, my aunt. So many things that I could not control. And now this was taken from me. And I felt like, you know what? This is the thing I can control. This is the thing that I could take back. And I was so committed to that. And the crazy thing is, like, in me trying to get control, like, now I am completely out of control. I am pursuing all these things that are not serving me, but I have reached the lowest valley. When the first episode dropped, I got a whole bunch of calls from friends and family, and they said, Kat, I did not realize, girl, you was in a valley like that. And I said, honestly, I did not realize I was still in a valley. Because yes, after my grandmother and my aunt passed away, I knew that I was in a valley for sure during that season. But then I decided that I was just going to fully immerse myself into work, be able to focus on something that I felt like was positive and just keep my train moving. And I thought by me immersing myself into work, keeping the train moving, that I had really done a good job of getting myself out of the valley. So if you would have saw me in 2021 and you were like, Kat, are you in a valley? I would have said no, because in keeping my train moving, work was going well. I had created and produced a docuseries called Artist to Artist. It was so many blessings around that. I was around great friends, great people. I mean, like, my set was good. But the problem was, in trying to keep that train moving, you know what Kat did not do? Kat did not do any maintenance along the way. I didn't stop and fully process what I needed to process. So when everything popped off in Chicago, it was so easy for me to retrace back into the valley. Because if you don't deal, how can you really heal? So I had to ask myself, like, Kat, were you ever out of the valley? I mean, I know you thought you were, but were you really? Crew, what you think? Like, if you haven't dealt with the things that put you in the valley, can you officially say that you're out of the valley? I don't think so. And the reason why I wanted to stop here and explore a bit is because I believe that that is a lot of our stories where we have just had some flagrant, some foul, some really negative things happen to us. And the thought is, you know what? Like, I am just going to keep the train moving. And I get it because I am a keep the train moving type of girl. But here's the thing. If we do not stop at the station, if we do not do the maintenance along the way, eventually the train is going to derail. And that is why I really wanted to just take this moment to encourage us all to process. Because if you do not deal, you cannot heal. And if we don't deal, if we don't heal, what do? We just accumulate. And it's only so much that we can accumulate before all of a sudden we have this meltdown. Have y'all ever got a alert on your computer and it says storage capacity full? And you're like, when did I use 256 gigabytes of hard drive? Along the way, every single day when you was accumulating and you wasn't deleting the files. And now what happens to that computer once it reaches capacity? It starts processing super slow, right? Like the functionality, the operation of that computer is now compromised because it is at capacity. And we are no different. We are no different. If we just out here accumulating and we not healing, we not dealing, we not deleting the files that need to be deleted, it's only a matter of time that we are going to be at capacity. It's only a matter of time that in not doing the work that we are going to eventually stall, that we are going to eventually derail. And so that is why it is just so important for us to take time to process. But now, what is processing? Processing at its simplest is just being able to go internally and being able to identify a thing, being able to put a name to something. What is bothering me? Why is this bothering me? What is triggering me? Why is this triggering me? Being able to unpack those things. And then the beautiful part about unpacking is once we have identified these things, once we have put a name to these things, we can now start to create solutions for them. But if we have not even identified the problem, there's no way that we can create a solution for it. And if we ain't out here creating solutions to these problems, that is how we are repeating cycles instead of beating cycles. And for my Black brothers and sisters, I am really going to drill this down for us because I understand that we have not had the luxury to be able to stop and process. Like we have been conditioned to just keep our train moving. So whatever you have to do to prioritize processing, even if that means literally going in your calendar and scheduling a processing day, Saturday at 6 p.m., I am processing. Whatever it needs to look like by any means, we have to stop at the station. We got to do the maintenance. We got to deal so that we can truly heal from these situations and we don't find ourselves retracing back into a valley. J. Crew, if you are enjoying this trip and you have not already, I would love for you to like and subscribe so that you never miss a trip and we can continue to grow our community. Now, back to this trip. Okay, Olaf, run the next clip. I could not see the forest from the trees, and I started doing some reckless shit. I was like, Kat, what is the life raft going to look like for you? Like, you got to figure this out. I asked myself, What do you love? I love travel. I don't know if y'all can tell, every single episode we taking y'all somewhere. But I love travel because travel is transformative. Travel extends so much to you. It is, you reach these places that are new and you're experiencing all these new cultures and environments. It reminds you like how incredibly vast just the world is. Now, I knew I couldn't just do like my normal travel. I was going to need to do something big and intentional. Now, I have always wanted to do an Eat, Pray, Love, but now, cats, like you, you need to do an Eat, Pray, Love. I decided for the next 5 months, we will eat in Thailand, we will pray in India, and we will love in Africa, specifically Ghana. And then on our way back home, we will tap into Egypt. Is there anybody in the crew who is transitioning from an old season into a new season? Congratulations to you. Cheers to you. Because that is absolutely a beautiful space to be in. And now I wanted to really just stop and explore here and discuss like how are we transitioning into these new seasons? How are we optimizing? How are we ensuring that we are bringing the healing and the solutions within this new season? Because let me tell you, your girl, she has transitioned not so well into some seasons, and I have transitioned pretty well into some other seasons. And when I stop and I think about the seasons where I have just transitioned well, it is because I have stopped and I have processed. I asked myself, okay, Kat, so what is it that we can bring with us and what can't we bring with us? What is it that you want this season to look like? And being very intentional about those intentions. I remember after my car incident, I was in a session with my therapist. And now at this point, y'all, I have already made it up in my mind that I was going to be going abroad. So now I am in trip planning mode, okay? I am just trying to keep the train moving. But my therapist, she pushed back on me. She challenged me and she said, Kat, you really need to sit back and unpack. You've been violated. A lot of things have been taken from you. And initially, like I didn't want to sit in that discomfort. I was like, I am over here having fun planning this trip. But I am glad that I sat in that discomfort because it allowed for me to deal so that I could start to heal. And had I not done that upfront work, I would have been bringing all these negative associations, all this negative accumulation, all this toxic energy into my new season. And crew, our new seasons, your new season, it deserves the healing version of you. One of the best healing sorters and just solution givers for me has been intentionally creating positive associations. Have you ever heard of creating a positive association, or have you ever created a positive association? So, a positive association is when you have created a positive event around a negative situation. So, for instance, when everything popped off in Chicago and then I decided to go abroad, that is me creating a positive event from a negative situation. And it's not that the negative event goes away in your mind or anything like that. It doesn't. But the hope is that in creating this positive event, when you think back to the negative event, there is now some positive associations. And those positive associations, it lessens the impact of the negative situation. Like that bite, that burn isn't as impactful. And for me, like when I got back to Chicago after being abroad, what I can tell you is that in creating those positive associations, I can now walk past that gas station and not be triggered. I could look out my window and not be triggered. Creating those positive associations, it definitely brought me a lot of peace. It's basically like creating lemonade out of the sour ass lemons that life sometimes can be serving us. Now, what's another example of what this lemonade could look or taste like? Well, let's say you are a person who, in your old season, you experienced some loss. Maybe it was the loss of a job or the loss of a desired opportunity, the loss of a relationship. And in that loss, you gave up a lot of yourself. And now in this new season, here's what I need you to do. I need you to ask yourself, what is it that you need? What is it that you need? And maybe in giving up so much to everyone else, you're like, I need to really be intentional about pouring back into me. I need to get back on my health and my wellness game because that's another thing that I sacrificed in that old season. And so you decide, I am going to pick up some yoga classes. And now you are in yoga 3 times a week and you are just pouring into yourself. You are reconnecting with your mind and your body, and you're around all these other yogis who are on the same trajectory as you. And one of those yogis ends up being your accountability partner. So now this accountability partner is making sure that you are exercising and eating right. I mean, you are over here just leveling up. You're continuously pouring into yourself. And now, guess what? Another yogi comes into your sphere. And ladies, he likes your downward dog. Yeah, that is a yoga position for those who did not know. We keeping a G on this episode. And fellas, she likes your cobra, another yoga position. But y'all exchange information and sparks, they just get to flying. And now when you think about that old situation, when you think about that loss, there are all of these positive associations within your season of newness. One of the positive associations that I created in this new season was launching the podcast on April 2nd. April 2nd was the day that my aunt passed away. And it is an extremely dark day for my family and I. But being able to honor her legacy, being able to bring light to such a dark day, being able to honor my grandmother's legacy, it brought so much joy to my heart. Yes, it was absolutely this overwhelmingly emotional day. Oh, for sure. But it brought me a lot of peace. There is so much power in creating positive associations. Creating positive associations is going to ensure that through this new season that you are truly optimizing, you are healing, you are leveling up. So, J. Crew, I want to know, what are some of these positive associations you're going to be making in this new season? Make sure that you comment below or even DM us over on Instagram. I am truly looking forward to all the dope, positive associations that you are going to make in your new season. Alrighty then, let's run the next clip. So, 5 months later, we are back stateside. We are back stateside. We done had this amazing LCA. And now I am telling people about it, like my closest friends and family. And they were like, okay, Kat, so this is so great. What are you going to do with this? And I'm like, what do you mean, what am I going to do with this? Yes, I filled up my cup. I am so grateful. I am so happy. They're like, no, but what are you going to do with this story? And I was like, well, you know what? I shared it with you, but the feedback that I kept getting about what you're going to do with this story. And so then I started thinking, okay, so what, because at this point, y'all, like when I tell you this trip was for me, it was for me. I didn't blog. I didn't do no social media. Like this literally was for me. And so now I am thinking about, okay, so what are you going to do with it? Let me just say, podcasting was probably last on your girl's list because I know to sit in this seat, you got to be open, you got to be vulnerable, you got to be transparent. Moment of honesty. That was so hard for me. I am not lying to you. I think that was probably the most vulnerable thing that I have done to date. I am an extremely private person. And I know for those that don't know me personally, it's like, girl, you was on the first episode, spilling all of your tea. I know, but privacy is like my middle name. What I shared on that first episode, it literally took me about I would say 2.5 to 3 months to share a lot of that same stuff with my therapist. Like, that is how private I am. My homegirls who know me, like, they called me and said, Kat, after the episode launched, they're like, are you okay? And I was like, I think so. What's the J. Cole album? Might delete later. Because it was, I had a moment, like telling the story. There were for sure parts of the story that were hard for me to tell. But it really was in the uploading and then the distribution of it that had like my stomach all in knots, because like once it's out there, it's out there. And in full transparency, that first episode, that was not the original script. Sure was not. Here is what the first episode was going to look like. It was going to look like me telling you about the podcast and me talking about how fueling the podcast is and how you need fuel for your journey. It was going to be something like that. I had no plans of taking y'all through my valley, of sharing like Kat's personal diary. Absolutely not. But I chose to share because of two reasons. Number one, I do believe that your vulnerability is a strength. Now, I did not always feel that way. There was a time where I looked at vulnerability as a weakness. And I still am a work in progress, but I'm working. We showed up. And I'm proud of how we showed up on the first episode. And then the second reason is because I know what is to come. Kat, what you mean you know what is to come? Well, since I'm over here spilling all of the tea, that first episode that we launched was not the first episode that we recorded. And before launching the podcast, we recorded several episodes. And a lot of those episodes, we had guests come on and take us on some amazing trips, which I am really excited to share with you all. And the reason why these trips are so amazing is because of how they showed up. These tour guides, these guests, they showed up in a full outfits of authenticity and transparency. And I'm like, like I was definitely inspired and I was grateful because they don't got no skin in the game. They not getting paid to be on this podcast. Like, there's no monetary benefit, right, for them to be all truthful and spill their tea. But that is how they are. Like, they just live in their truth. And then in addition to, they want their story to be able to make an impact on others. So I'm over here listening, of course, like all inspired. But at the same time, I know what this means. This means that Kat, you're going to have to let that wall of privacy down. I knew that I was going to have to set the tone. I knew I was going to have to sit in all of the discomfort, all of the vulnerability. And that's what we did. And that's why we hit the ground. That's why we hit the ground running, y'all. Now, as uncomfortable as it may be at times, I don't ever believe you'll regret sharing your truth. So I want to continue to encourage you all to absolutely just live in that truth. And if the opportunity presents itself for you to share it, and if it's going to make an impact on somebody else's life, sit in the vulnerability, sit in the discomfort, and allow for it to stretch you, allow for it to grow you. You got this. You got this. Your story is absolutely worth sharing. I am blessed to be on this journey of just truth, authenticity, and self-discovery. Let me tell you who showed up on that first episode and played like a leading role. Process. The reason why I was even able to articulate myself in the way that I did in that first episode, being able to identify, okay, Kat, you like to have control, specifically over your life, and all these things happen that were outside of your control. And now you are just trying to get control by any means necessary. Being able to identify that and then being able to put a solution to it, which is, okay, you just need to recalibrate what you are trying to control. That was all through processing. That was all through self-discovery. I would have never been able to like create that summation without those two things. I would have just been like, you know what? This is what happened. Have no idea why. that is why processing and this journey of self-discovery is so incredibly vital. I mean, I would argue that self-discovery by far is one of the most important things that you can discover, right? Because J. Crew, like, if we don't know ourselves, we we are out of order, right? Like, do you know yourself? Do you know yourself well? I've been on this little journey for a minute, and I'm telling you, like, I am still learning stuff. Like, every single day, it feels like it's new stuff your girl is learning. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, Kat. We didn't know that yesterday, but okay. But it is the best space to be in. It is absolutely a beautiful space to be in, because could you imagine? I mean, could you imagine if you looked in the mirror every single day and the person staring back at you, you had absolutely no idea who that person was? Like, how heavy that must feel, but also like how empty that must feel. And that's why I said, Kat, you already know what trip we got to take the crew on next. And if this episode ain't next, you out of order. So on our next trip, we are going to the island of self-discovery with my therapist, Maisha. And it's an amazing trip that I cannot wait for you to go on. Remember how I was telling you about them people that showed up and they was just running? Yeah, she was one of them. She came in here with her old little tracksuit of authenticity and her gym shoes of truth, and dropped so many souvenirs along the way. Not only due to her expertise, but also just showing up and being willing to discuss her own personal experiences with self-discovery. So it's a great trip, and I cannot wait to go to the island of self-discovery with you all. So now, before I end this tea time, I wanted to end it with a challenge. So in this season of newness, I want to challenge us to just set our intentions. Setting your intentions, it really primes your season to be a great one. Being able to plant those seeds of intention and just watch them grow over the life of your season. Being able to look back and be like, oh, okay, like I said that and it came to fruition. I did that. Like, it is so reaffirming. So in the comments below, let me know if you are up for the challenge. And in the first episode, I went over my intentions before we embarked on the LCA. So I wanted to read something a little different. And it is my hope for our new season. As we enter this season of newness, we entered renewed and restored. We are assured in the knowing of our strength and the discovery of our more. We want more joy, more love, more purpose. We are not fully certain what all this season has in store, but we welcome the unknown. There is wonder and there is beauty in the discovery of life and all of its abundance. J. Crew, in this season, I am looking forward to you dealing and healing. I am looking forward to you stopping at that station and doing the maintenance, creating all these positive associations and just living in your truth and discovering more about yourself. Always remember that your journey is absolutely worth traveling. Thank you for having a little bit of tea time with me. And until our next episode, peace and blessings.